Hi everyone, this is Mindy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, instead of doing a Christmas card with all the bells and whistles, glitz and glitter, we are going to make a scenic holiday card. And I think this is great to send to the people that really aren't into all the glitter and glitz that we tend to do on our holiday cards. Now the stencil that I'm going to be using today is from Simon Says Stamp, and it is called the Holiday Horizons Stencil. This is really a fantastic stencil to use year-round and with any occasion. You can do masking with it as well, so there's a lot of different ways to create scenes in here. Now I think originally this stencil was kind of meant to create some nighttime scenes for like Santa silhouettes, but I'm just going to create a nice mountain scene. I have an 80-pound piece of white cardstock that I just slid into one of the slots. There's a bunch of them on here. So I decided what I wanted to start with, which was the mountains, slid that into there, and then I have a piece of Post-it tape kind of covering that next line underneath of the stencil because I don't want to risk ink getting in there. Then I'm coming in with Seafoam ink from Simon Says Stamp, using a blending brush, and I'm starting on the stencil and then working my way up. So I'm essentially right now creating my sky. Next, I'm going to come in with Cadette Ink, which is just a little bit darker, and I'm putting that right above the Seafoam ink. I'm also holding my stencil down onto my cardstock using my Art Station and some magnets. Now the top layer of my ink is going to be Galaxy ink, and this one actually kind of takes over that Cadette ink that I just placed down, but that's okay. I still have a really great transition between all of the blues. Then I'm just going to carefully remove the magnets, lift up that Post-it tape, and I can just pull this paper right out of the stencil. Now I did try to clean this with a paper towel, but I recommend rinsing the stencil off in the sink. It's just a lot easier, especially with all these fine details of the stencil like the trees. I'm placing my cardstock back into that stencil, and this time I have it so the trees are laying down. Now, even though you see the trees, we're really ink blending the area behind the trees. So for this, I'm using Flannel ink, which is a light gray ink. This one I'm really careful on. I'm starting on the Post-it tape and blending up. I don't want to come back down because these are very fine details and I don't want to risk bumping or shifting or even breaking my stencil. Now I can actually color my trees because if we lift the other part or the bottom portion of those trees up, it is a mask. So it's masking off my sky. I just put a little bit of Post-it tape up above so I don't get any green into my blue sky. Now for this, I'm starting with Aspen Ink, which is a really light green, and I thought it made a perfect color for the trees. Once again, I'm being very, very careful how I ink blend, really light-handed. I'm starting on that Post-it tape, blending onto the trees, and then lifting up when I get down towards the bottom of the tree stencil. So now I move to the bottom of the card, and for this I'm using Sage ink. This is actually the middle color in this trio, and I'm going to blend up into that light color. Next, I'm going to come in with Pine, and this is the darkest color. I really don't want to hit the tree stencil portion because, like I said, those are pretty fine. So at this point, I have a whole background done just in one stencil and a little bit of ink blending. Off screen, I trimmed my panel down to about 3.5 by 4 3/4, and I have this media grip mat in my Misti tool to hold that down in place, and I'm using a sentiment off of the Holiday Greens stamp set. I placed it onto my cardstock, and I'm using my Misti ruler to help make that straight across the front of the card. Now I can ink this up in the Versafine Clair Nocturne Ink, which is a really nice dark black ink, and I'm just gently stamping that down. I'm going to repeat that step for the smaller sentiment that I'm going to add up above. Now, really the only reason I created this as a holiday card is because I have a bunch of holiday stamps sitting on my desk right now. But really looking at this would be great for any occasion, birthday, hello. And if you struggle with making cards for guys, maybe they don't want pink. Some do, some are okay with lots of color. But maybe you have some guys that like outdoorsy type of scenes. This stencil would be great. And just because I did mountains and trees doesn't mean that that's the only thing you can create with it. Change up your colors, create a beautiful nighttime sky. So that finishes up my card project for today. I hope this has inspired you and you give a good look at this stencil because I really think it's going to be a good staple in your stash. I will have all of my supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. I appreciate you so much for stopping by today, and I'll see you again real soon.